I'm 100% Brazilian who's been living in California for the past 6 years now, and I think it's time that I touch on this subject. I've been seeing a lot of videos about black and brown sticking together, and even more so calls to action from the Hispanic community calling blacks to actually come and fight together with them. But as a 100% Brazilian who again has been living in California for the past 6 years. When I first touched down in California, I moved here from New York City, a place that is so culturally diverse that we as minorities all come together and stick together. Because in New York City, there's no difference from an Ak or a Mexican. We are literally all one. But I started to realize how much race wars was actually a thing the minute I got to California. I started to realize how much division was actually in place between the two. And it's unfortunate that I even have to get up here and make this video. But the reality of the matter is 100% Pardo Brazilian. If you don't understand what Pardo means that you are a mixed Brazilian that has both indigenous and African roots. Y'all obviously see the color of my skin, right? A lot of the times Mexicans look at me and they can't really quite put their finger on what exactly I am. Like a lot of people, they look at me and they don't automatically result to, oh, she's Brazilian. Most people honestly generally think I'm either Puerto Rican or Dominican. And Dominicans are also black. But the reality of the matter is I've always stood with the blacks, and all of the closest people to me, all of my loved ones are black. So from their eyes looking in, they've always treated me as she's not one of us, she's opposite of us. Never thought I'd see the day where I'd actually make this video and try to put it in my own perspective, but I just want to genuinely know why. Why is it that Mexicans treat other people of other races a certain type of way simply because, oh, they're not one of us? But the minute that you guys are faced with this oppression, now you guys want everybody to stand with you. You know how many times I've been walking from point A to point B in LA trying to mind my business with another black man beside me, when all of a sudden Mexicans are hopping out and literally fighting them for no reason simply because of the color on their skin? And for my black people, don't think that they're doing this just to y'all. Because like I said, me as 100% Brazilian, I even get treated accordingly by them people.
Shalom, it's your brother Darash Shamath back with another lesson. Before we jump into it, as always, I want to give all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh, by Hashem Yahweh Shai, by Hashem Rakakodash, and double honors to the elders and apostles at Great Millstone for bringing out this truth. And shalom to the hopeful elect, which includes the 144,000 and the rest of the elect out there scattered around the world, including those speckled bird Israelites who may look like the other nations but are not. And this is not a black thing, shalom. This one goes out to the 12 tribes scattered abroad. So this one is going to be a response. I'm going to title it Response. Black and brown people never stood together in LA. And if you're on TikTok, you can just click on comment and go see the video from the young lady. Or we'll have it in front of the video on YouTube. So there's no such thing as black people. We're not black. All right. Just gotta say, we have brown skin, all right? So just like the rest of the tribes, we just different shades of brown skin, for the most part, all right? So the young lady's question is she just doesn't understand, why is it like this? Why, the Mexicans or the so-called, the so-called Mexicans or the Issacharites from the tribe of Issachar, what do they have against, the other tribes, especially Judah, the so-called Negroes? All right? Why is it like this? All right? Okay, so you got to understand that we are the same people, okay? We've just been separated for some time, and the curses in Deuteronomy 28 are still in effect, and they're going to be in effect till Yahweh Shem Yahushai comes back. All right? So let's just start off with looking at these curses for an explanation, all right? I know a lot of y'all don't believe in the 12 tribes chart, but what explanation do you have for why things are like this? Why are we all being oppressed, all right? But we still fighting each other at the same time. even though we have a common enemy. But a lot of this hatred and anger is not directed toward them. We'll be quick to go after, someone of our own nations, okay, out of the 12 tribes of Israel, before we'll go at these heathens. Okay? These heathens have ran all over us and done us dirty every which way and still doing us dirty to this day. And we don't make no moves against them, but we'll go against our own people. And I'm not telling y'all to go make no moves anyway, because this is spiritual. All right? Yahweh Shem Yahushua got us. Well, he got the elect. The rest of y'all was born in vain, but we'll get to that. So let's start off at Deuteronomy 28 and 54. And it says, so that the man that is tender among you and very delicate, his eye shall be evil toward his brother, and toward the wife of his bosom, and toward the remnant of his children, which he shall leave. All right? And you see this across all the Israelite nations, okay? And it's not, it's real heavy on the Judites, okay, the so-called Negroes. You see that a lot, all right? But even intertribal, okay, the different tribes, okay? So like she was talking about the Mexicans and the Negroes, okay, Judah and Issachar, all right? They got beef between them, all right? And it's right there. His eyes shall be evil toward his brother, okay? These so-called Negroes, the Mexicans are your brothers, all right? Now, this lady, she is from Brazil, so she grew up around the tribe of Asher, okay? And she's saying that she's a mix, okay? Well, there's really no such thing as mix, but her father was either Negro or Issachar. I'm not Issachar, or Asher, okay? And she says she gravitates toward the so-called black, so her father was possibly a Negro. And so that's probably why she has that spirit on her, and she gravitates toward them, okay? So let's go to verse 55. So that he will not give to any of them the flesh of his children whom he shall eat, because he had nothing left in the siege and in the straitness wherewith thine enemies shall distress thee in thy gates. All right, and you've seen this happen in like 70 AD. It's happened at other times too, and it's going to happen again, okay? Where cannibalism is going to come alive. It hasn't gotten to that extent yet, but we're entering into Jacob's trouble, so it's going to be the worst time. There's going to be no time like it ever before, so this atrocious act is going to come back to pass. And you might ask why these things are happening, because we didn't listen to the Heavenly Father. So if you scroll up in this chapter, which we could do after this next verse, we'll see that. Okay, we're supposed to listen to him. Verse 56, the tender and delicate woman among you, which would not adventure to set the sole of her foot upon the ground for delicateness and tenderness, her eye shall be evil toward the husband of her bosom, and toward her son, and toward her daughter. All right? And you see all the wickedness that our women do towards their children across all the tribes, how they treat their husbands, how they don't respect them. Okay? Yahweh Shem Yahushua really took us down. All right? Yahweh is the name of the Heavenly Father, and his son is Yahweh Shai. That's their names, okay? So you should know that. So if we scroll up to verse 15, it says, but it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of Yahweh thy power to observe, to do all his commandments and his statutes, which I command thee this day, that all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee. All right, and that is what we're still dealing with today, but our people can't see it. They don't understand it, okay? Because they don't want to hear what's right. They want to hear smooth words, okay? They want to believe the things that these Edomites, these so-called Caucasians, these abominable snowmen, and these heathens have taught them. Okay, they accept the history that they've taught to them. They've accept the way of life that they taught them. Okay, but they don't want to hear the truth. Now let's go to Jeremiah chapter 50 and verse 33. And it says, thus said Yahweh of hosts, the children of Israel and the children of Judah. So children of Israel is going to the northern kingdom. The northern 10 tribes consisted of Ephraim, the so-called Puerto Ricans, Manasseh, the so-called Cubans, Simeon, the so-called Dominicans, Zebulon, the so-called Guatemalans, all the way down to Panama. They were the Mayans. And then the tribe of Gad, which is the Native Americans. Okay, and then the tribe of Reuben which would be the Seminole Indians, and then Asher, which is in South America, so around Colombia all the way down to Uruguay. They were the Incas, and that also includes the Brazilians. And then you got Issachar, which is the Mexicans, which were the Aztecs. And then you got Naphtali, which would be Argentina to Chile. So those are the 12 tribes. That's where the predominant portion of the 12 tribes are, okay? And so the 12 tribes were in the Americas, and they all got oppressed together. Okay, so these Europeans came over here and they oppressed all of them together. Then they even brought the southern kingdom over, which consisted of Judah, the so-called Negroes, Benjamin, the so-called West Indians, which would be the people like in the Bahamas and Trinidad and stuff like that. And then you got the Haitians, which would be the tribe of Levi. Okay, but we all got oppressed together over here, the predominant portion of us. We understand that the Israelites were scattered to the four corners of the earth, and so they're all amongst all the other nations. We even mixed with the nations, but remember, you are who your father is. So if that seed line traces back to Israel, you're an Israelite no matter what you look like. You could be pale, okay, you could be what they call how the Asians look. You could look like any of these nations, but still be an Israelite. All right. So that's important to understand. But the predominant portion of the tribes got oppressed together over here. Okay. Now, let's go to Hosea 4:6. This is Hosea 4:6, and it says, "My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge." Well, if you don't know who you are, you're kind of lost. Okay? You don't really know who your true heritage is. You don't know who you are. You don't know who your power is. Okay? You're in a destroyed state already. You don't know who your own brothers and sisters are. You don't know your own nation. All right? Now, the Israelites are a very large nation. It would be as the sand of the sea. Okay? And so that's how we can look like all these other nations. Okay? Because we are basically a multitude of nations. Each tribe is its own nation. All right? In a way. But we all fall under the nation of Israel. All right? It says, "Because thou hast rejected knowledge." What knowledge? This knowledge, this understanding who we are, this truth, the knowledge of the Heavenly Father, the right ways to live. Okay? "I will also reject thee." Okay? "That thou shalt be no priest to me, seeing thou hast forgotten the law of thy power, I will also forget thy children." Okay? And look at the things that he lets happen to us because of, what our forefathers did. All right? And in turn, if you could receive it through the Spirit with reincarnation, what we did ourselves in previous lives. All right? Now let's jump to Jeremiah 17:4. And it says, "And thou, even thyself, shalt discontinue from thy heritage that I gave thee, and I will cause thee to serve thine enemies in the land which thou knowest not. For ye have kindled a fire in my anger, which shall burn forever." All right, so we are completely cut off from our heritage. We lost it, who we were. We didn't have an idea, okay? That's what happened, all right? And we served our enemies, okay? The northern and southern kingdom were oppressed. Those so-called Mexicans, they got oppressed. They were in the servitude. They were slaves too, okay? And people in the South Americas, they got oppressed too, all right? They got brainwashed so bad they was taught that they needed to lighten up to better the family. Like, come on, think about that. Like, it's self-hate throughout all the tribes. All right? Not just hating each other, but hating your own self so much. And it's just, sad. Now let's jump forward to Isaiah chapter 1 and verse 3. And it says, "The ox knoweth his owner, and the ass his master's crib, but Israel do not know. My people do not consider." Okay? So these people, they don't think highly of themselves, okay? They put the white man, Esau Edom, on the pedestal and think highly of him, okay? All of them got a picture of a white Jesus in their house, got a little shrine with candles and all of that bullshit around them to the devils that enslaved you. Like, that don't make sense. That's their power. That's their God. It's an idol, okay? The Bible gives you the description in the book of Revelations in the 4th chapter of Yahweh Shai, whom the world ignorantly calls Jesus. And you can read Daniel chapter 7 and get the description of the Heavenly Father. Okay? And you'll see that Yahweh Shai is the image of the Heavenly Father. Okay? So, like, come on. Y'all got the book. Read it. Get understanding. Y'all been deceived. It's time to wake up. That's why y'all in this state. You don't know who you are. You don't know who your power is. Speaking of the Heavenly Father, Yahweh. So you just lost. You don't consider. All right? You just going on, just being happy with the way things are, the status quo. Now you're being oppressed and you're like, why? Why this? Why nobody helping us? Why this and why that? All right? Because you're under these curses. That's why. Only the elect, is going to band together. Everybody else, no, y'all was born in vain, as we'll get. Okay? Like I was saying, things are different for the elect. They heard the words of Yahweh. They heard his words, all right? And they changed. They listened to the prophets, and they were joined together, all right? That's what the Bible is talking to you about, all right? Now, if we go to Ezekiel, get an example. Let's see, Ezekiel 37. That's the valley of dry bones. So we can go down to verse 15. And it says, And the word of Yahweh came again unto me, saying, Moreover, thou son of man, take thee one stick and write upon it, okay, for Judah and for the children of Israel, his companions. Okay, and I'm telling you that one stick is a 12 tribes chart. Okay, and we use that to tell these tribes, you're the Israelites. Okay, you're one nation, all 12 of these tribes. Y'all are one people. This is who you are. All right? That's why it's important. And so many of you people out there disagree with the chart and all of this stuff and got all kind of bickerings and stuff. What is your breakdown of this? What is your breakdown of Ezekiel 37, 15 through 20? What does that mean? And don't come here with no Book of Mormon and all of that nonsense talking about that's the other stick. There is no other book that goes along with the Bible. It's written. That's another gospel. Come on. All right. This is Ezekiel 37 and 16. Moreover, thou son of man, take thee one stick and write upon it for Judah and for the children of Israel, his companions. Then take another stick and write upon it for Joseph, the stick of Ephraim, and for all those of the house of Israel, his companions. Okay, so Judah, southern kingdom. So Judah, Negroes, Benjamin, the West Indians, Levi, Haitians, okay? Then you got the stick of Ephraim, okay? And for all the house of Israel, his companions, all right? So Ephraim, the Puerto Ricans, all right? Manasseh, the Cubans, Simeon, the Dominicans, Zebulon, Guatemala to Panama, okay? The Mayans, all right? We got Gad, the Native Americans, Reuben, the Seminole Indians, all right? And Asher, Colombia to Uruguay. The Incas, okay? That includes the Brazilians, all right? That's Asher. And then you got Issachar, which is the Mexicans. You got Naphtali, Argentina to Chile, all right? Those are the tribes. And that's what we're telling these people. Hey, if you descend from these people, you're an Israelite, okay? And you're an Israelite based on your father, okay? So if your father was a conquistador or some Edomite, you're an Edomite. You're not an Israelite, okay? All right? We're not African American, okay? The dark people that was enslaved for a large part in the Americas, they were Israelites, according to the prophecy, okay? Yeah, they could have had some Africans mixed in, but predominantly Israelites. Let's keep reading. Ezekiel 37:17, and join them one to another into one stick, and they shall become one in thine hand. So that was a sign, a symbol of bringing the tribes back together. Okay, that's what the chart is, putting the tribes back together. Okay, so are we out on the highways and byways telling y'all this is who you are? You are an Israelite. All right. Verse 18, and when the children of thy people shall speak unto thee, saying, Wilt thou not show us what thou meanest by these? Say unto them, Thus said Yahweh Power, Behold, I will take the stick of Joseph, which is in the hand of Ephraim, and the tribes of Israel his fellows, and will put them with him, even with the stick of Judah, and make them one stick, and they shall be one in thine hand. Okay? And so, when you're out there on the highways and byways teaching, some people might ask about the chart, and that's what you tell them, okay? You telling them who they are. You telling them that these people make up the nation of Israel, and the Heavenly Father is putting them back together, and this is starting with the elect, okay? The 2/3, the people who are outside of the truth, like I said earlier, they were born in vain, okay? They're going to have to come back into the kingdom, all right? They're not going to get it on this side, all right? It's only the elect. That's who's going to have the unity, all right? So the so-called black and brown people in LA, they're not going to come together. It's not meant for this side. In the kingdom, when they're in their right mind, yes. All right? But only the elect is going to come together on this side. All right? Verse 20, and the sticks whereon thou writest shall be in thine hand before their eyes. All right? And that's why we have the tribes, the 12 tribes chart, before these people's eyes on the highways and byways, showing them who they are, okay? Because it's according to prophecy, okay? And we're the only ones doing it, all right? The Bible been preached for many, many years. Why no one else was doing this? Why? Nobody else was going into this prophecy, bringing it out, showing the people who they were. Nope. They let you lie dead. Spiritually dead, not knowing who you were. All right? So I said I was going to get that born in vain part. So let's go to 2nd Ezra, chapter 9 and verse 22. And it says, let the multitude perish then, which was born in vain, and let my grape be kept and my plant. For with great labor have I made it perfect. The multitude, talking about the 2/3, okay? The rock-headed, stiff-necked Israelites who not go get it. So they were born in vain, okay? Let my grape be kept. Speaking about his elect, okay? And my plant. For with great labor have I made it perfect. So the Heavenly Father, okay, put a lot of work, okay? Great labor into making the elect perfect, okay? But the non-elect, the 2/3, they were born in vain. And they go perish. That's according to prophecy. They're divided. Now let's go back to the Old Testament. Let's go to Amos, chapter 9. Get another example. Verse 9, and it says, for lo, I will command, and I will sift the house of Israel among all nations. All right? So he goes, go and sift out the Israelites. All right? Like as corn is sifted in a sieve, and shall not the least grain fall upon the earth. All right? So you can't escape from the Heavenly Father. Okay? He knows his people. He go pick you out. All right? All the sinners of my people shall die by the sword. So that's that 2/3. Okay? The sinners. All right? Not saying that we all don't sin, but they're not repenting. They're not turning back to the Heavenly Father. They're still worshiping idols and whatnot. Okay? Which say the evil shall not overtake or prevent us. Okay? They don't think that bad things are going to befall them. They don't think that they're going to get done in. But that's what's going to happen if you don't have the protection of the Heavenly Father. And that's how the 2/3, they going to get murked. Okay? It says, all the sinners of my people shall die by the sword. What's the modern day sword? The gun. Well, they got missiles now, but you get what I'm saying. And this is verse 9, and 11. In that day will I raise up the tabernacle of David that has fallen. And what is that going to be with? That's going to be of the elect. The elect are going to be there. Okay? And close up the breaches thereof. And I will raise up his ruins. And I will build it as in the days of old. Okay? So the elect are coming back together in unity. Okay? And they're going to be built up. The tabernacle of David. All right? Not all the tribes, not everybody from all the tribes, okay? It's just the elect of the 12 tribes on this side. That's it. All right? Now let's go to Zechariah chapter 13 and verse 8. And it says, and it shall come to pass that in all the land, saith Yahweh, 2 parts therein shall be cut off and die, but the third shall be left therein. Okay? So 2 parts, that's the 2/3, the sinners. Okay? That's going to be, get murked by the sword. Okay, but the third shall be left therein. That's the elect that I was talking about. Okay, He goes, spare them. I will bring the third part through the fire, okay? So he's refining them, and I will refine them as silver is refined, making them pure, okay? Didn't he say with great effort I made them perfect in 2 Ezra 9:22, okay? That's what this is talking about. And will try them as gold is tried. They shall call on my name. So they're going to have his name. They're going to know the name of the Heavenly Father and his Son. The name of the Father is Yahweh. It means he is or he exists. The name of his Son is Yahweh Shai. It means he saves or he delivers. And then you got the Ruach HaKodesh, which means Spirit Holy. Okay? They shall call on my name and I will hear them. I will say, it is my people, and they shall say, Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai is my power. All right? So I hope this short lesson was edifying. I'm going to give all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai Bahashem Ruach HaKodesh. Shalom, Yasharallah.